stay here.
What's happening? I still don't know what's going on. And what is a wise woman?
A wise woman is the Moritoi term for a witch. They're justifiably respectful of witches, so even if something were to happen to me, it will give you a measure of safety among them. But don't worry, this is just a friendly spar to help with relations.
A friendly spar? That weapon looks like it could chop you in half.
Huh, it does, doesn't it? Don't worry, I'm a lot stronger than I look. Just hang out here and cheer for me, but not too loud, all right?
Turning around, John unsheathed his sword and tapped the pommel on the silver bracer on his forearm. The magical shield the bracer contained sprang to life. Stretching his neck from side to side, John walked out to face Zayat, who was waiting in the middle of the circle, his halberd still resting on his shoulder. Stopping around 15 feet away, John held out his sword in front of him.
For the glory of the journey!
They sprang forward. With his first strike blocked, Zayat dropped his stance slightly and spun his halberd around, stabbing out. Blocking the attack on his shield, John took a quick step forward to get inside of the long weapon's range. Zayat parried his attack with the shaft of his halberd, using the force to retreat a step. Standing among the watching warriors, Ellie felt her heart jump every time the sound of metal weapons colliding rang out. Her breath catching in her throat, Ellie clenched her fist as she cheered John on silently. As much as she wanted to look away, she had asked John to train her to fight, and she knew he'd brought her to help her grow more accustomed to it. Stepping back to avoid a slash toward his foot, John dropped the edge of his shield to block the halberd as he lunged forward, his sword stabbing toward Zayat's throat. Back and forth, the two fighters moved, quickly falling into a rhythm as they fought on the open plain under the gleaming stars. A faint bead of sweat had formed on the Khan's forehead, but he didn't dare wipe it. While John had been having a fairly leisurely fight, Zayat was having an entirely different experience. Over the years, he had fought countless times, but never had he encountered anyone whose body was so strong and dense. Sensing his exhaustion starting to grow, Zayat realized he had been outclassed. Part of him wanted to call up his mana and unleash it toward John, hopefully ending the fight swiftly. But a more rational part of him told him to call it here before he embarrassed himself completely. His warrior sense was telling him that the calm-faced fighter in front of him hid a truly terrible monster, and it was better to keep it sealed. Now, staring at John over his halberd, he saw that John had stepped back and lowered his sword. Breathing a secret sigh of relief, Zayat straightened, lifting the point of his halberd into the air.
You are a powerful warrior.
John held his sword behind his shield as he bowed slightly to the Khan.
I hope it's not a problem that I couldn't overcome you.
A problem? Ha!
Ongur stormed the circle and patted John on the shoulder happily.
That was one of the fiercest fights I've ever seen. Incredible! Incredible! Being able to fight with Zayat for any length of time would be impressive enough. But to fight him to a standstill is incredible.
Holding up his hand to quiet the clamoring warriors, the Khan planted the end of his halberd in the ground and looked around.
We have witnessed the warrior's truth.
Turning to Ellie, who was the only one who didn't speak up, Zayat bowed his head respectfully.
Wise woman, have you witnessed our brother's might?
Turning her head and looking at John, who had put his shield away and was examining his sword for damage, she smiled happily.
I have.
Good. The trial has been passed.
Zayat turned to John.
The truth of your road has been acknowledged, and you are granted a seat among us. We will heed your words and counsel regarding the future of our tribes. For now, we will march with you under the banner of the eternal flame. As for the future, we will see what it brings.